This is Riff Radio, a presentation of Riff Magazine, your source for music news, interviews, and concert reviews from the Bay Area and beyond. Find more at riffmagazine.com. I am Mike DeWald. On this episode, we get a little villainous. Eva Under Fire is from Detroit and have an explosive new record called Villainous. 5 years in the making, the record is personal, heavy, and really, really good. We're joined by vocalist Amanda Leiberg, and this album feels like it has a very common thread lyrically. Confidence, resilience, battling back. Do you go in with that mindset, or does it show itself once you start writing?
Yeah, I love that question. Thank you for that. I do think we wanted to be more honest, and that kind of leaned into being more mean. We went into the studio in LA, and Chris loves to do like bouncy kind of riffs, right? So he came up with this bouncy riff, and then the producer, love John London, shout out John London for this one. He was like, I love that riff, but do it with this guitar. And he did. And it was like a really super low like tune, and we never experienced that with that kind of tuning before. And we were like, I don't know, is this too heavy for Eva Under Fire? And then I think from that point, it just sort of like came out that way, right? Once we had this bitier music, it very much free flowed from there.
Mhm. But what is so good is there's that heavy sound, but along with it, there's just that sense of like having the hooks and the drops in the right spot, and throughout the album, it's kind of a common thread throughout it. And is that just a byproduct of all the different influences that you have that go into that in developing that sound?
Hey, I don't know if it's, obviously it's just great songwriting, I guess, is my whole thing, right? Is like we know where to put the moments, so to speak. So but it does feel like the low tuned energy of the song sort of serves that too, right? Because it's like you're just waiting for the drop on some of these, and the lyricism I think also serves that because it's a little bit more sinister, it's a little bit more mean or aggressive, But yeah, very much. I think just kind of gels together in the studio that way. It's also why I love working with great producers because I think they have an ear for that and they're like, oh, we should put that here. So that was helpful.
Now, vocally, I've a couple songs at least. You push yourself pretty far. You get into some screams on the album. Is that the first time you've done that on record before?
No, not the first time on record,
Oh,
but certainly the first time since we were with the label. So I
okay,
think it's the
okay.
first time that I experimented with that sound in like a big way. But I definitely think on our older stuff that was recorded independently and released as an independent band, we had songs like that were a little bit more like chaotic. We never really kind of knew where our sound wanted to be. We just kept honesty in the lyrics, and that was the biggest, I think, the biggest thing that we went back to on this album. It was very important for us to not feel like it was, watered down for radio kind of thing, like we wanted it to be more intentional. And I think that is what you're feeling.
I get that in particular on A Violent End, which makes for a violent end to the record. I mean, that one is really, it takes you by surprise when it hits. What were the sort of conversations that led to that song?
I think if we were going to explore the less, glittery side of things, the less luxurious side of things, and go back to our like Detroit grit type of roots, that was sort of the song that I had such a visceral reaction to a show that I watched on TV. And it was, I am very much want to protect, myself and my friends, and like we should all look out for each other and support one another. This particular series that I had watched was how Hollywood has contributed to child trafficking, and I got real mad. It was like, so I wanted to heap coals on the heads of these people that were responsible for taking advantage of literal children. And I thought of my niece, and I was like, no way, like I can't not say the thing. And I was like, so this feels like a song. And that was what gave birth to A Violent End.
Do you find when you're writing that sort of inspiration can strike in just the world around you that you see in things like that, that you see something and think that could be a song right there.
Yeah, this whole album is in response to the world around us. Like I feel like that's kind of where we're at as a human race right now, right? Those of us in the that are recognizing the pressures of the world around us. I think it's hard to be a human and just exist right now. It's hard to be um, just emotionally find equilibrium because so much of what's happening around us is like causing these massive emotional responses. And so every time I feel something really strongly, I'm like, that's a song.
Mhm.
And that's kind of what happened for like every part of this album. And that's ultimately why I think this is more of a concept album than we have ever had. It's way more about like complex character development and like finding oneself.
Mhm.
So I'm glad that you picked up on the whole resiliency theme because
Mhm.
that's basically what this is.
And given your background being a therapist,
Yeah.
listening to others, and what they're experiencing, what they're going through, when you're writing, is that in a way you're listening to yourself, tapping into your own experience and story, or do those things, I guess, relate at all when you're writing?
Oh yeah, 1,000%. I mean, all of our, collective human experience, I think, is influencing other parts of our lives in some way, shape, or form, right? Like it's very difficult to be like, this one isolated situation is how we got here, right? Kind of ever. So I feel like, yeah, my therapy is when I write about my experience. And so I think I got really close to that on this record.
Mhm. And now the song probably most fans are digging into right now is Villainous, with Marina Brank, which a great collaboration. How did that come together?
So I have been a massive Maria Brink fan for a long time. I love In This Moment. I've seen a lot of, I mean, from just me before Eva Under Fire, I've been, in the fan sector of their shows. So it was really cool for me to be like, the mother of metal is going to jump on one of our tracks. Come on. But we share a manager, and so that was really cool. So they kind of made some introductions and kicked Villainous over to Maria to take a listen. And she did not have to do this, but it was wonderful. She messaged me on Instagram and was like, "Hey, I'm really excited to be part of the song. I really think this is going to be a big moment for you guys. Like that, the song is awesome, you know." And so I was like, "Ah, that meant so much to me that she was, that she really like believed in that for the song. Because if there's any like Villainous has such a mood already, and then you add Maria Brink's like very sinister kind of tone to the whole. It's just the perfect mix. Like there's zero other features that would have made as much sense as Maria's vocal on that. So I feel like it's the perfect feature.
I was going to say, when you talk about sort of, character development in the context of a song or an album, like, I mean, maybe no more song is there an example of that where you without any visual you can see it right in front of you.
Yes, exactly. I was saying that's kind of what we wanted too, is because the songs have such a theme. They have such a like a common undertone to this entire album, and so that's what we wanted to capture that in all of the imagery that went along with it, right? The artwork, the music videos, everything, the costuming on stage is all going to serve that as a theme.
Now, for the video, which is also amazing, did you get to do a little bit of like fight choreography, stunt choreography in that?
I did. It was really fun. I did. They handed me a practice sword and I went to town. It was great. I love, gosh, it was so cool. The stunt actors were fantastic. I got a stunt double, which was awesome. So like there was an entire like fight sequence that I was not part of and I just got to stand back and watch and amazing. But at the end of the day, they were also like, Amanda should do some sequences. And I was like, yes, oh my gosh, please teach me your ways. Right. So I got to do some of my own stuff, which I've shared in some of our like reels and stuff like that, like the behind the scenes. But they were teaching me on the spot, and I was pretty proud of myself, picking it up pretty readily, pretty quick. But it was super sick. I love doing my own stunt type of stuff when I get to do things like that.
Very nice. And you sort of mentioned this before, but for the things that are to come, do you want to keep that same sort of that same sort of tone, the same sort of visual tone, image, with things relating to this album that almost like a comic book coming to life feel kind of thing.
It's basically our own version of like Gotham, you know? Like that was kind of the intention. And so I'm really excited to show you guys what's next because I already know what's next.
Oh,
There's a lot of visuals that have already come together for this. So yes, you would be correct in assuming that there's going to be a lot more that's pretty on theme from that perspective.
now, as far as your writing process, I'm sure it varies, from song to song. They don't come together the same way, but in kind of a broad sense, is there a certain way that you go about things? Is it sometimes a guitar riff that will strike, something? Is it, the lyrics you'll start with? Is, I guess, sort of common places that you'll start the creative process from?
Yeah, there's probably three main methods, I suppose. So I'll get an idea in my brain, and I have a pretty good sense of where my vocal range sits. So I just like with me on my iPhone will just do, what I think lyric thing will pop in my head and I'll do a voice memo. And then I bring the voice memo to the guys and a lot of the times they'll, we'll structure it from there. But sometimes it starts with a riff. Like I had mentioned, we got into the LA studio and Chris had a riff idea. And so we kind of like vibed from there. And so when it starts with the instrumentals, that will kind of influence my mood and my energy. And so I kind of like take that and run with it, and build a story, create the lyrics around that. So it kind of happens both of those ways. So the third way that it happens is like if, because I'm married to my guitar player, Rob. And so sometimes when we're in our living room and we're just jamming, we'll just vibe, right? We'll get in a room together and we'll vibe. We're still a garage band, which is pretty awesome. So the guys will come over and we'll just jam. And so sometimes it's like a collective, like get in a room and jam. And that was a really cool start to the idea. So it'll happen one of those three ways.
Wow. So you're playing in the garage, you're out touring in the van, that I think when, a band is that tight, it reflects in the music. I guess would you do you feel that it's that way when sort of it's a tight unit like that?
Yeah, I think there's a lot more history that we get to have because we've grown up together. So I think that we just kind of trust, we can follow along with one another at this point, right? It's like second nature, So if somebody starts doing like a little lead part or something, like Rob will pick up a lead part and he'll just be fumbling around, and we'll be like, oh, that was really cool. Like run that back though. Like keep doing that thing because I want to hit this underneath it or whatever, and then I'll just start, either scatting out, whatever the vocal thing is in my head, even if I don't have like words yet.
Mhm.
Or sometimes like certain phrases will come to mind just because of the mood of the song itself. Whatever's happening instrumentally will set that tone, and I'll just kind of run off. You know what I mean? I'll hit record on the phone. Hurry up, because we might get something cool out of it. And there's been several songs that have come together like that.
That magic's just about to happen. You got to capture it. Now, a
Yeah.
uh, a big tour coming up this summer. You'll be on the road with Five Finger Death Punch, and just in the back in our backyard here, with one of the stops in Mountain View. So that's got to be exciting to have some of those really big shows coming up.
It's pretty massive. So this album cycle for us with the writing process felt like it took forever. So for us to come out the gate with a brand new album and the most massive tour of our lives, is pretty special. We're still trying to figure out how to, you know, wrap our brain around like how surreal that is. It
Mhm.
felt like we were um, just in the we felt lost without live shows, and then all of a sudden we have the biggest live shows of our lives, and we feel like all is right in the world.
And no, I don't know. It was probably intentional. Not a lot of bands are able to do this. I mean, obviously there'll be a few pre-release singles out, but the album is coming out as a complete work that fans can be able to dig in from beginning to end. And sometimes it'll be a lot of songs come out, and by the time the album comes out, the whole thing's out. So to be able to release a full complete work, was there some I guess a little bit of intentionality with that to be able to put out, a front to back album.
Yeah, we turned in 23 songs. So like, we're just never gonna go away again. We're just gonna keep this whole thing was like, here's everything we've been feeling for like 5 years, you know? And then the label was like, okay, we have a lot to work with. Let's now we do the strategery about putting together how it's gonna be released, what it's gonna be packaged with, and how it's gonna all roll out. And I think honestly, this album cycle for us has been so much more intentional on all fronts, and I'm really, really proud of that. So thank you for asking, because yeah, this was a massive undertaking.
Did this come together over sort of a 5 year stretch of you know, to this point now, this the sort of the finished product?
If we zoomed out enough, I kind of do think so. Because like there's certain songs on the record that started with a voice memo, like when my father had first passed away. So like it was from 5 years ago, and I hadn't really gotten to explore those ideas until this album cycle, because at the time we were writing the Heavy on the Heart EP, and then we got signed, and that became the Love, Drugs, and Misery album. But all of that stuff was written 2017. So like there was a lot of time where like we didn't, and then we were supposed to release Love, Drugs, and Misery. It was supposed to come out in March of 2020, but the world shut down. So we had to hold on to that record for like 2 years. And so that, I think there was just so much that we had not gotten to say. So yeah, I mean, some of the stuff that's on this album, there's a song called My Own Name that started with a voice memo from a long time ago. That's like me revisiting my own, that's why I'm no longer going by Eva, as though I felt like that was the crown from the listeners, but like my name is Amanda, and I felt like it was important for people to know that. I think there's a song called Hello Hollow on the new album. That was a voice memo from when I lost my dad in 2018. So
Really?
I'm really, yeah, I'm really, really proud of like a lot of the things that are all coming to fruition have been like so long in the making.
Wow. Yeah, it's Hello Hollow was one in particular. The chorus of that one hit you so like right immediately that it's one of those memorable choruses that hits you right away.
Thank you.
And I guess having all of those things, having it over such a long stretch, does it feel a little bit not like a reintroduction, but like the most formal introduction of Eva Under Fire to fans to be able to have it sort of all all happening at once instead of all these kind of fragmented pieces?
Yeah, it feels like refinement is what it feels like. Yeah, it feels like we're stepping into the new mature era of who we are as humans has changed since we started this band, 10 years ago or whatever it's been now. And so I think that all of that is reflected in this album.
Perfect. So, and of course, we have the Five Finger Tour, but I imagine, fans wanting to see Eva Under Fire will have a lot of chances for this album. I imagine you'd be out on the road a lot for this.
So it's really fun that you mentioned that, because we have a couple of headliners that are on the way to the big tour, right? So like this is the first time we're experimenting with headliners. So if you want more of that, you want all of the songs, come and see us at those shows. But yeah, I mean, we do want to. We've always been a band that's loved the live shows. So staying on the road is so important to us. But and that's so why we were shocked. Like we went after this big tour, and we got 2 legs of that tour. So we're out with Five Finger from like July until almost November. It was crazy. Yeah.
Wow.
It's pretty awesome.
It'll be a big year. Well, you have to mix in one of those headliners in Northern California somewhere. So
yeah. And then the plans later on is like we'll take over all the Danny Wimmer stuff. We'll get back on all the big stages. You know what I mean? Like that was just, it's just up from here, guys.
Perfect. Well,
just keep hanging out.
Well, thank you so much for taking some time. We look forward to the album and look forward to a lot of shows coming up here on the horizon.
Yeah, if we're going to be in your backyard, I'll see you soon.
That was Amanda Leinberg, vocalist for Eva Under Fire. Check out the new album, Villainous, and find them on the road this summer with Five Finger Death Punch and on their own headlining shows. And as always, for more of Riff Radio, go to riffmagazine.com. For Riff Radio, I'm Mike DeWald.